So I've been wanting to do this video on this topic for a while on why I like this game, because it seems to be that this game is the antithesis of what I enjoy in a game. Whenever someone tells me that they really enjoy a game because of its great storyline, that causes me to roll my eyes because I really can't stand storylines within games. I've played Skyrim many times and put many hours into it. But when it comes to my perspective of the game today, I have no idea what any of the characters' names are, what any of the cities' names are, or even what even generally happens within the story itself. Same with a game like Diablo 3. I know a few of the classes off the top of my head, and I know there's a boss named Diablo, but I couldn't tell you a lick of a cent of a story that happens within that game. Generally, what will happen to me in a game is I'll try to roleplay within the character that I'm playing in the game, but I'll come across a conversation or a cutscene, and I'll eventually get bored of them, and I'll eventually see these cutscenes and conversations as a challenge for my button mashing skills. Even games that are critically acclaimed for the stories, I tend to find dull. A game like BioShock, I find the theme and the setting, the concept of the game very interesting. And I remember playing through the game and understanding the story, being interested enough to understand it. But to this day, I couldn't tell you what it's about. I remember being like a sci-fi retro situation where you're some guy underwater in some eugenics facility who's self-mutating himself to do something. The only character I can truly remember off the top of my head from that series is Big Daddy. Just less of a character and more of a monster within the game. BioShock is a great example of a game that I really like the gameplay, but I can really live without the story. If BioShock was BioShock without any of the story, conversation, or any aspect of that, and was just the gameplay, I would like it just as much as I do, probably even more. Coming back with my attention to The Witcher, I found myself in the beginning of the game mashing through portions of the dialogue and the cutscenes to try to get to something interesting. I was immediately bored with the game because within the first hour of the game I had played it, there was one battle that I had played and another battle within a cutscene. And I found that was way too little gameplay in a game, and I felt that this was going to be another boring story game. The edge that The Witcher 3 has is that the game's story is simple, yet it's not trying to invoke a message overtly, and at no point during the game did I ever feel that it takes itself way too seriously. And it's interesting. It's interesting enough for the people around me to watch me also play it, such as my kids or my old lady. You play the game as Geralt of Rivia, a emotionalist Witcher monster contract killer. Geralt is like as if James Bond was a cop, but was also part of the X-Men. The main quests in this game are exciting and fun to learn about and to be a part of. But what I found equally interesting is how the secondary quest in this game and the monster contracts you pick up seem to have a lot of thought put into them. The optional quests that you can take within this game don't feel like optional quests, but rather a episode of a Monster of the Week show. In the game, use your Witcher senses to investigate crime scenes. This part of the game does get old, but the part that does keep it very fresh is how there's so much detail put into each one of these optional quests that it does feel like a different scenario each time, even though you're doing the exact same actions. The magnificent part about the simplicity here is that it's not story for story's sake. It's story to accompany the gameplay. The Witcher even excels at the smaller details to a given story or a plot. For example, most video games have a dialogue that I feel the writers of SpongeBob could have done a better job. The easiest way to suck me out of a game is terrible exposition. But the exposition in The Witcher 3 is pretty good to the point where I'm still feeling a bit ambiguous about how Geralt has gotten into this position, what's happening, and why it's happening. But none of that's really important within the game. A lot of the exposition with this game is not even told. It's something that's expressed throughout the game interactions itself. For example, the interactions between the Witchers of Skull Wolf is interesting because they dog on each other like they know each other very well and that they're actually close to each other. When Geralt is around Lambert or Eskel, I feel like I'm just hanging out with a few friends. There's even a dude's night out part of this game where the three of you go out and get obliterated. I finally completed the main storyline of the game, and I can honestly say that the story by no measure is the greatest story in the universe. But it's interesting enough to keep me compelled to watch and play along as part of it. The easiest way to put it is in one word: fun. It was a fun time. I had a fun time being told this story. And that's the key word. The game is fun. It's not a compelling story that's going to change my perspective from here on out. It's just an entertaining time. I'm having fun. The writing in this game is good, but its only purpose is to serve as an inspiration for why your character is doing certain things. But alternatively, the gameplay in this game is good, but it's not so good that it could stand on its own and be a cohesive game. That's where the story steps in. It gives your character ambition and reasons to do things, to keep performing. I think the concept of the storyline and gameplay complementing each other is too played out and seems to rarely ever actually happen. But here in this game, I feel like it does happen. The story is just one-offs on the Monster of the Week, but you're the participant. The Witcher 3, 9 out of 10. Not perfect, but certainly not far from it.